All right, so we'll start with the pre-show, which I'm slightly interested in. Kane versus Zack Ryder.
Well, this goes back to when Zack Ryder and Dixie Carter were trying to escape Kane, and they got in that car and the tire was flat. So I'm glad we're finally catching up on what these two have been up to.
This is a match that could have been huge if you'd done it back in February.
Right.
But now, like, Zack Ryder has been buried so much since then that it just doesn't matter. Like, is there any reason to believe that Zack Ryder could come out and beat Kane? Whereas if you had done it at that time, I would have bet on Zack Ryder, thinking that they were going to give him the big win over Kane, that like he was going to be the underdog and pull it out after he'd been thrown off of stages and chased around in a horror movie. But there's no reason to believe that Zack Ryder's getting a win over Kane.
Well, Danny, I wouldn't be surprised if Zack Ryder's seen on the Kazariatron next week. I mean, because with the way he's heading, he's doing dark matches and superstars if he's lucky. And I don't know if this is a thing where they're like, okay, just like tweet about it. We're going to build this up again. We're going to get the people to like you again by making you an underdog, because it's working on me. I'm wearing his shirt. But at the same time, I don't think it's that. I think he's just not really that interesting. He's not that good, and he's run out of puns. Like, oh, I already pulled the brass ring off the fridge. What do I do now? I already acted like I was trying to get over a fence, and it wasn't even funny, but everyone pretended it was. Zack Ryder was the most unfunny douchebag who became a star. By the way, I'm wearing a shirt. And
you love his show where he does all these bad bits.
I like him now. I'm happy when I get to see him wrestle.
You like him because Steven Castaneda likes him.
Yeah, and I like the Daniel Bryan match he had, because when he fucking went for the broski boot, Danny, and got tripped up in that trip move, I was all for it. But again, he might end up on the Kazari Frankie Castron by the end of the year.
They had people where they want him with this guy. I don't want to believe this is on purpose, because that makes no sense to you. Have this guy so over in a match that is money. If anything, you do the match then, and then you can bury him if you want to. But why bury a guy that was intentionally hot and over at the time? He was like at Santino level at that same time. Like when they made you believe and they made you want him to win that Elimination Chamber, like they were pulling that kind of stuff with Ryder. Like you wanted him to win the matches he was in. But now, I mean, I think he's just getting buried, and not for any purpose.
It's so weird.
I got
Danny.
Kane in this match.
Part of me really thinks like the WWE is so good at keeping guys at least relevant when they're not a part of something major. The other part of me doesn't feel that way at all. Like I look back, there's times when RVD wasn't really doing anything, but he was always involved in something. And this in like the early 2000s, before he really became ECW champion. Who would have thought? He finally got it from WWE. Anyways, Danny, So yeah, there's times when I feel like they're really good at that, because in comparison to TNA, they are. Like people will just disappear for weeks at a time. Then all of a sudden they're X Division champion after winning a contract for no reason. But this is an example. Zack Ryder, also Drew McIntyre. These are two guys that they're either involved in something major or they're completely shit on and they're useless. Like, how does that work?
They do at least have enough programming between stuff like NXT, Superstars, some of their internet shows, to keep people involved. Like they're still using them. So to people like myself that don't watch all these shows, it will feel like, oh, this guy just kind of disappeared, or they just forgot about him. But they are still being used, like you said. So it's not like they're being completely ignored, where in TNA, when a guy's not being used, we're not sure if they're even still with the company. Did they get injured? And it's not even necessarily a fault of them, but you can only fit so many people into 1 2-hour show a week that it becomes easily to get overlooked and forgotten about.
All right, I don't know what you just said. Something about Kane. I'm picking the big red monster machine, fucking Kane-tron himself. This guy is so fucking shit. He's the worst. His nose is massive, just getting pushed out of the bottom of his stupid mask. I don't care when he talks. I don't care when he wrestles. I thought he needed the mask. The mask could be the worst thing to ever happen to him. He's garbage. His YouTube show has been shit. But, Danny, by what? The YouTube show where he's just standing in a freezer with a dead Paul Bear. Fucking.
I would watch that.
I do pick Kane. Let's get to the. Does that count though? Is this going to count in the rankings?
Yeah. It won't now because we picked the same person, so it's not going to matter.
Right. Okay.
But it's the pre-show. I mean, it'll be there. We'll watch it probably.